Hello everyone, Jerry Tabbat with you once again on this edition of Military Minute, and I have a very special guest with me today. Somebody that you don't see very often. This is a three-war veteran, World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War, and I'm so honored to have with me today Mr. Donald Parson. Don, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
It's my honor, sir.
3 different wars.
Well, yes, I was in during the war, and I didn't take any active part in any of the wars, but because I was in the music, I was a musician.
Yeah.
But I know what they went through, and I was honored to be in.
Yeah. And Don, you just turned 91 years old on Thanksgiving Day.
I began to feel it.
No, you look great and everything. What we want to talk about today is something that's very unique, and we don't get to meet a lot of individuals like this, is you actually got to spend some time on Air Force One. We'll talk about that in a second, and President Kennedy. But you actually were in the Air Force Band, and you got to travel.
That's right. It was more or less like an honor to be there, and special services and all that. Yeah, very honored. We played for the Air Force One a lot more than I would as far as being in the Air Force One. It was an honor for that. We was in the ceremonial brass, they call it now, and it was a ceremonial band outside the Air Force Band. The Air Force Band was an outfit that started. They were a bunch of groups that started in 1943, and they stayed together till they retired.
Now, we were talking before the show here, and you've had quite an experience with that. How did you decide you want to try out to be with the Air Force Band that plays for the president?
It was the Lord's will that happened. I'll tell you how it happened. I went in to be a tail gunner, and went through basic, and I ended up at Lowry, and they said, we've closed the schools. The war's over, and we don't have any planes that have. The Korean War hadn't started yet. So I was very disappointed, and we put us in a squadron. They said, you're going to Okinawa. And they said, oh, in Okinawa, we arrived, and they said, you're going to be a truck driver, a cook and baker, or an MP. And out of that 3, I thought, well, I'll drive a truck. So I was about ready to go up and make my decision when they said, is there a private person here? We'd like the chaplain wants to speak to him. And I thought maybe my mother had died or something. And I walked in, and he says, don't get excited. He says, I see on your records in high school, you're in the band. Were you any good? And I said, are you kidding? That was my best subject. And I thought, band? Anyway, he says, well, there's the 1st Marine Division was completely wiped out. They were all killed. But the instruments are here. And he said, the general wants to start a marching band. And he said, tomorrow morning, if you'll be here at 7:30, a truck will pick you up. It's like a 6x, and take you down to the band, and you can try out for it. Well, I thought, wow. In the meantime, before that, at Lowry, when I was walking around, I heard the band, and I walked in, and I sat on the curb, and the guy says, come on over. He informed me the only way you can get in the band is to come in through a recruiting with your band leader and get a letter. And I said, that's the only way? And he says, yes. And so here I am thinking, maybe I could. And when I showed up down there, he said, we don't need any more trumpets. I started to walk away, and he says, but. I said, but? And he says, would you play French horn? And I said, sure, I'll play French horn. And that's how I got started.
All right, that's amazing. And you guys that were in this band that played for the presidents, it was kind of a unique thing. One of the questions I have, though, is you actually flew on Air Force One time.
Yes. The situation was that they needed music for the steak dinners. And this is during the time when President Kennedy, he'd been in about 2 years, and they were taking the band to Texas. I mean, they were taking the plane to Texas a lot. And this was all a mystery later on, still a mystery, a lot of it. And so they needed music, and I went on one trip. I started on one trip, and it didn't really work out that way at the end, but started on one trip. We were interviewed and told that we had, now this is the President of the United States, you know, and when whatever you learn here stays here. You do not talk about it or anything like that. sort of made you a little bit squeezy. What's going to happen? But I was really honored to be able to do that. Yes, sir.
Now, one thing you were telling me, Don, that it kind of gives you chills to think about it. You actually saw Jackie Onassis Kennedy covered in blood after the president was assassinated.
When the plane rolled up, they opened this big door, and she's laying over the coffin. They had to pull her off. My family was in the back of the band, and they saw that, yes. And she had that, I think it was a light blue outfit. It was, the blood was, all over her. And she was clinging to it. No, oh no, I don't want to leave it. They had, come on, Jackie, you have to get off of this plane. Well, I couldn't hear any of that. All I saw that they were pulling her off, and somebody said she was saying no.
How did that affect you guys?
It really hurt me deep. I had met President Kennedy one time at the White House. The band always played it for the Air Force One helicopter when it came in. And the president would be over here, and the band would be here, and the crack troops would be there, and the dignitary would go with the president and have a little past review. And Kennedy would be there early for like a draw run, and he would talk to the trombone players. One time, he came around, and I'm standing on the end over here. I was always small, so I was on the end. And he says, how do you like being in the Air Force? And I said, I like it very much, sir. And he says, you have any children? I said, yeah, I have a son and a daughter. He says, I have a son. He says, I know what it's like to have a son. That was about all it was, but I didn't know what I felt, really. Right. I felt a little bit of pressure and all that, but I felt at ease with him. He was a very charismatic man.
That's one
wonderful
of the things,
man.
Your personal experience talking with the president like that. Most of us, I was very fortunate. I got a chance. I actually shook hands with President Ford one time, but we all see everything on TV, say they're very prim, very proper, they say the right things, but personally, even though they have that dignity of the office, they can relate to us on a personal basis because they're family men and also.
He had a special gift for that. He had a soft voice when he talked personally to you, and he had a deep voice when he talked to the crowd and over the microphone. But I just felt at ease with him. That just that little bit of talk. I thought later, that was the president of the United States I was talking to. And my wife said, that must have been awesome. And I said, at the time it wasn't. I said, a little bit scared, but I just felt at ease with him.
Right, and that's good to hear these kind of things too. Now, did you meet any of the other presidents as you're with Air Force One in that?
No. Johnson, we went to a lot of he was going to a lot of the countries were having riots and things like that, like the Dominican Republic. He went to Jamaica. We went to Jamaica with him, and Aruba. I went to that, and we didn't see her. He would come out. He'd come out. They would have their own vehicles down there, and they'd take some of, I guess, the president's vehicles down there. But he would go. He'd appear at the opening and give his speech. He had a very speech. He always gave the same speech every place he went, and that's all it was. Really, no charismatic approach to him at all. He was very outspoken.
Of all these things that you got to do in the band with Air Force One, meeting President Kennedy and talking with him and everything, what's probably the best memory you have of that time period in your career?
Probably that time I talked to Kennedy is one, and seeing Jackie. Those with the Kennedy administration, that's probably, I would say, the most outstanding. We had to play a lot of funerals, and that was sad. Sure. And a lot of things happened over there that some of them were funny and some of them were sad. But that kind of a job, I didn't like too much about the funerals. But we had to play those. About 14 or 15 of us they'd split the band up and we'd take funerals. We had one maybe once a week. We'd have a funeral. We had quite a few funerals for officers.
Now, when you were in the military and doing all this work with the band, with the president and that, Were you married?
Yes, I was.
How did that go over with your wife?
Many times she says, "You're more married to the French horn you are to me." It took a lot of practice to be able to get. I had a hard time. I was sort of a self-made musician.
Right.
A lot of the musicians, they were brought up reared with the instrument and had given lessons, but I was sort of from a poor family, and I really learned to play my trumpet in the Salvation Army band.
Wow.
That's when the Salvation Army had bands. They had good brass bands.
Right.
No reeds, just brass bands.
Do you? Is there any of the members that you played with in the band? Are they still some of them alive? Do you talk with them or anything?
Not so much that. We were all just one big family, and everybody was more or less in their own family in the band. We would show up for the jobs and the gigs, we call them, all that. And the concerts were awesome, though. That's sitting there and playing for all these people is a wonderful thing to do,
right.
Especially when I get in the sack band. It was strictly not any formations or anything like this. We just played concerts in the strategic Air Command
right.
band, and that was a bigger band, and it was like the Air Force band itself, and it was awesome to play some. We had some 30 and 40,000 people playing for.
Well, what are you doing now, Don?
I'm in a home on Charter Village. It's a wonderful home. If there's anybody out there that would like to feel like they need to go to a place like this, I had my wife at a place, and after she passed away, I thought, I don't think I want to go to one of these homes. But the minute I walked in Charter, it's behind Publix on Thomas Drive, I felt at home. I felt
Good.
that was like
Good.
Where the Lord wanted me.
Good.
And they really take good care of you out there. It's a wonderful place.
Good. You still play the French horn?
No, I can't. I wish I could, but it takes a lot of lung power to play the French horn,
right.
And I don't have that anymore.
We only got about a minute and a half left, Don. What kind of advice would you have for young men and young women that have aspirations like you have?
Well, I would say try the service, because the service is very disciplined part of your life, and you need that. And today's the way I see the youth. They're just running around. They don't have any grab on life. They don't seem to know what they're going to do. Get situated. The service is a good place to get your life situated.
Well, we're going to have to wrap this up. We're going to run out of time here, but it's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Well, the pleasure is mine, sir.
3-war veteran, World War II, Korean, and Vietnam, 91 years old on Thanksgiving Day, and we complain if we have a headache. You're doing great, Don. Best of luck to the rest of your life. You've led a full life, and we appreciate you coming in today and sharing some time with us.
Anytime you ever want to talk to me, call me back.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
To
you
a fellow
calling.
Air Force veteran. Hey, we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to extend this to about an hour because we could talk with Don. He promised that he'd talk more, but I won't pay him anymore. So now, I just want to say have a great day. And you know what? Be kind to a veteran out there. Talk to him. You see what Don's been through. We're good people, too. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day, everyone. And we'll be back next week with another edition of Military Minute.